Hello, everybody. My name is Reginald Thomas. I'm the Operations Manager for the Human Services Alliance of Greater Prince William. And what we're going to go over today is we're going to go over the reporting tool. Now, before we go over it, I just definitely want to thank everybody for being patient with us as doing this reporting tool and getting it out has taken a couple weeks longer than we anticipated, but we are super excited about this tool. We're super excited about launching it with you. And we're super excited to show you how really to use it. So when it comes to this tool, there are going to be two components to it. One is going to be the individual expenditure report. That's what you're going to be turning in real time as you're helping people out as you're doing your spending. The other one's a monthly report. That's a brief summary of what you've been doing and how you've been doing it. And I'm going to show you both of those reports. Now, before we start, I do want to tell everybody, especially ones who worked with Alliance before, is that if you worked on the CARES Act with us, I want you to go ahead in your mind and erase everything you knew about the reporting tool and the reporting from that. This is a very different report. We went over this in our live sessions. We've also met with each one of you individually. And just want to reiterate that, is that this reporting that we have to do does require more things that we do have to document, things that we do have to upload. And really, some of the reasons why we took the extra time of doing the report is we want to make it as easy and as streamlined as possible for you. So if you work with us with CARES, please know that the reporting that we had to do with CARES was very small and not as much that we had to turn in as this one. So I do want to tell everyone to please open your mind. If you're new with us, then you never worked with us with CARES, and you're good to go. So we're going to go over those two things. Now, first of all, as we're going through this, I understand that you are still going to have many questions. I do not suspect that doing one video for, I think it's 33 organizations that we're working with on this one, for 33 organizations is going to be a one size fits all. You're not going to have any questions. I expect questions and I welcome them. So one thing that we did set up, this was in an email that was sent to you probably 2 weeks ago, was we will have office hours. Those office hours are going to be 1 to 3. So you can go into the link that we provided you in that email. And if you need that, please send us the email at grants@alliancegpw.org and we'll resend it to you. But there's a link in that email where you can sign up for 30-minute sessions with myself, with Chelsea, and also we are onboarding a part-time and a full-time and a couple other positions. So basically you can have meetings with the people who can help you with the questions that you may have. So just know, as we're going through this, you might have your questions. Please jot them down. One thing that I recommend is when you get your email to get access to these reports, one thing I definitely suggest is go through one and try to submit one. And then as you're submitting, if questions arise or things are going a certain way, please write down those questions in the meantime, but we would love to get in touch with you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen with you, and we are going to go over what these reports look like. And here we go. My screen is shared with you. So we are going to open up this. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you. All right. So what you are going to get from us and what you have already gotten from us is you have gotten directions on how to access this report. You have an access code that you're going to need, but there's step-by-step directions to get to this screen. So this is where you're going to start out at. This report that we are working on is our individual expenditure report. And from your screen, all you are going to see is this box, service area on down. The rest of this is things that we use to build this thing. So I want you just to ignore some of these things that are written under applications. But where you're going to start at is this box. So what you're going to do with this report is in real time, as you are helping people, you are going to enter this information. The great thing about this report is that it streamlines and it only tells you to fill out the things that you have to fill out depending on what you've already picked. So I'm going to go through a scenario and I'm going to pretend like I am a grant partner who is providing childcare assistance. My organization, we've gotten granted $200,000 to provide 20 kids with free child health care that costs $1,000 a month. So where you're going to start out with is, this is the first individual expenditure report, and you will be doing this over and over again, but it does get easier as you do it. So bear with me. But the first thing you're going to do is going to say the name of organization. Please enter your organization's name. We're going to call this Reggie's Childcare. I wish I could come up with another name, but not fast enough in my head today. Then what you're going to list is the name of the organization representative submitting the expenditure. Everyone's going to do this. So Reggie's submitting it, but here whoever's submitting this for your organization, they will list their name here. And this is where you put the organization name. Now the reporting identifier. This will be the identifier for your submission and will appear on the subject line. The great thing that we're able to do about each one of these that you submit is that you are going to submit these one at a time. If there is something wrong with the submissions, we are able to send that submission back to you and say, hey, this doesn't have this doesn't have this. But what you want to put here is you want to put what is going to appear on the subject line when you submit this and when we send it back. So for instance, if this is for childcare for the organization and say the kid's name is Chad Smith, what I would do here, and we have an example of things that you can put, I would call this Chad Smith and put the date that I'm submitting it. So today is May 10th. So we'll start there. So that is what is going to appear on your subject line. So we're like, hey, the submission, we need this, or there's something wrong with it. Please resubmit this information. This is what you're going to see when we send it back on the subject line. So make sure that you put in here, we suggest the name of the project or the name of the person that you are assisting and the date that you submitted it. All right, so we are doing childcare. Now you can pick multiple from this line, but for this, what we're doing is childcare. So as you notice now, because we hit childcare, we have two things that have popped up. Those two things, you're going to go in order and you're going to submit the information for those two things. So we're done with service area. So we're going to go to household starting question. It's going to ask you each time, is this a new client that you have who has not previously received service? We're going to say yes. Chad Smith, the person that we're helping out, we've never given service to. This is the first time we are entering their information. So we're going to hit yes. It's a new client. Now you see a couple more things popped up. So the great thing about this is it's only going to pop up as you need to fill out information. Look what happens if I hit no. Some things disappear, but we're going to go over that. But we're going to start off with a new person that we're helping. So yes, so first time client information. It opens up to a new thing. It's going to say, what is the name or assign unique identifier to the client requesting assistance? Now, Chad Smith could be the name of a parent. It could be the name of the child. For this one, you want to use the parent's name. So let's just say Chad Smith is the parent. So we're going to say Chad Smith is the person requiring assistance. Now, a lot of these questions that are going to come afterwards are mandatory, especially the number of people in household, street address, city, and zip. The rest of them, as we go through them, are ones that we really do want the information, but they're not mandatory if the person prefers not to say. But we do want to know the total number of people in the household. So Chad Smith, he has 4 people in his household. Even though one person might be the only person receiving the child care assistance, we would still enter 4 here because we want to know, even though you might only be helping one person, everything goes to helping out the whole household. Utilities, even though there might be one person who wants that utility, there might be 8 people in the house. So those are people that we're impacting. So we want to see what our outreach is. So please enter the total number of people in the household. Then you can enter the street address or only street name. Now, if you noticed up here, when we did Chad Smith, we are able to do a unique identifier for the client too. This is your decision. If you have a client who does not want to give out their name to us, now please remember, anything that you give to us is not shared with federal government, is not shared with immigration, is not shared outside of our organization. So please know that their information is safe, but if someone does not feel comfortable or your organization does not feel comfortable, you can assign a unique identifier. So this could be Chad Smith, or it could be the unique identifier that you assign. When it comes to unique identifiers, do make sure that the unique identifier is one that if you are called upon to have to substantiate information, like say you turn this in wrong and the dollar amount's right, we need to be able to say, hey, this is a unique identifier and you can find that information. So unique identifier has to be a way for you to reference this application back to your information. So don't just put something crazy and forget what it is, but it needs to be what you are using in your system. All right, so we're going to say Chad Smith. We're not going to use a unique identifier. So the street address. Now, some unique identifiers, and some people might not want to give the name of their house. That is fine. If they just want to put the street name, that's fine. So let's say Chad Smith does not want to give out the number of his house, but he'll do street name. So we're going to say he lives on Point Pleasant Lane. So we didn't hit a street name, so that's fine, a street number, but we do have to have the name. That is in Dumfries. And then you're going to enter their zip code. Now, if you notice here, one of the great things is that you're going to select their zip code. These zip codes are all the zip codes that are in the county that we have approval for. So this is one thing that happened when we did this before with CARES. There was situations where people were serving outside of the service area. So the great thing that we did is that if it's not on this list, it's not in the service area. So what we are going to do is we're going to hit 22026 because that's their zip code. Then we're going to continue going. And then there's just some more questions. What's the race? And this is stuff that if they prefer not to say, it's fine to list that they prefer not to say, but we really would like this information because we want to see who we're serving. But one thing that's really important is we want to make sure that we're hitting every demographic. That's one of the things, even when we did the CARES Act grant, is that we want to know, like we're hoping that we're able to hit every race, every disability status, military people. We want to, so basically this is just more so we can just see who we're serving. So let's say they are, just gonna say they're Caucasian or white. So then we're gonna go to disability. Is the client or member of a household disabled? I'm gonna say, no, they're not disabled. Military, has the client served in the military? I'm going to say, yeah, they have served in the military. Now, remember, the client that's requesting assistance, of course, the kid didn't serve in the military. But then we are going to go to Covet Impact. So this is one of the first big parts of this haul. So it's going to say, please indicate how the household was impacted by COVID. Check all that apply. So say this person was impacted because they had a loss of income and they had increased childcare expenses. So we're going to say those are their two impacts. Now, do remember, in order to help somebody, they have to have a way that they were adversely impacted by COVID. So if they're like, well, I haven't been impacted, but I like help, then it's just like, okay, well, unfortunately, it has to be a COVID impact. These are COVID ARPA funds. So you have to have been impacted by COVID. So the next part you're going to do is it's going to say supporting documentation of COVID impact, because we do have to provide supporting documentation. We're going to have a part that says, please submit all supporting documents to demonstrate the impact of COVID using the link below. This may include pay stubs to show loss of income, childcare invoices to show a rise in childcare costs. We're just giving you some basic examples of things that you can put in. It says if the client is not able, and this is really good, if the client is not able to provide supporting data, you may use the self-declaration form below and upload that to the submission link. So this is the first part of what you're going to need to do. So I'm going to hit the submission link. What is now going to pop up is it's going to direct you to the supporting document submission form. We are using this because this is basically our HIPAA compliant submission, that whatever comes through here is very safeguarded, is HIPAA compliant. This is basically where you're going to submit main documentation. If it's a pay stub, if it's a W-2, if it's a determination letter from unemployment, this is where you're going to list that. So let's say this person does not have a pay stub showing that they lost income due to COVID, or they don't have any or invoices showing that that childcare has increased. However they're impacted, however they show that, it's completely fine. But say they have to do a self-declaration form. We're going to click here. And then the great thing that's going to happen is it is automatically going to download to your computer a copy of the self-declaration form. This is the form that would need to be filled out by your client and signed by them. So you could put application's name, the applicant's name, their address, check all that apply, should be the same things. They're going to put that they cannot get documentation, also providing why, and then they're going to sign this. And then what you're going to do with this is you are going to go to the information submission link and say, well, of course, my name's not on here because I made up my organization, but let's just say Blue Ribbon, they're a great child care center. So we're going to say Blue Ribbon, but really that would be the name that I put up here, right? Reggie's Child Care would have been there. So we're going to go back to first child care. So we're going to go here. So that would essentially be here. Then we're going to say, please provide the name or unique identifier. Remember, his name was Chad Smith. Then we're going to check supporting Covet Impact supporting data. And then this is where you are either going to upload this form that they signed or the data showing how they lost income, if it's pay stubs or the invoices. So you are going to submit those into this client information submission box. And then you are going to self-assign a 4-digit reference number. You will be asked to enter this reference number in the Foundant, and it can start with anything. So one thing I do want to tell you is that when we get to the end of this process, you're going to see why this is important. You can give it a self-assigned number. So we're going to say their number is 1,000. And then maybe the next one you put, if you have to do this, you'll list it 1,001, 1,002, but you're going to give it a self-assigned number. Now, we have that entered. Do not submit this form yet. And I'm going to show you why as we keep going. So remember that we have this client information submission form. So we have filled this out. We have uploaded this form to this area. And now we are ready to keep going. Now, the next question that it's going to ask is, does your client live in a qualified census tract? Please use the link here for instructions to determine if your client is in one of these tracts and provide the information you need to substantiate. So remember, if they live in a qualified census tract, you do not have to do income verification. So one thing that you can do, and we definitely recommend that you do this with everybody who comes in, is that you need to determine whether they're in a qualified census tract. So how you're going to do this is we have uploaded instructions. We're going to click here, and it's going to upload to this Word file. So it's still opening. Please bear with me. We will hit right here, wait for it to upload, should be at the bottom. So let's now open it. Oh, sorry, it opened right here. And we opened it 2 times. So let's do this and let's open this up. So this is the instructions to the qualified census tract. Now, what you're going to do is, it's pretty simple. This is the URL of where you need to go. We're going to go here. We're going to copy that. And let's go back to where we've been working. Where's that? So there we go. Sorry, we had to minimize that because it was not letting me select stuff. So this is where the URL is going to take you. Perfect. So what you're going to do is with this, you can enter, and let's say we're going to enter the address of the person. So we're going to say they live in 1600 Point Pleasant Lane. Then we're going to say it's Dumfries, DA 22026. Let's take out that comma. Then we're going to hit go. Now, what's great is it is going to pinpoint exactly where that address is. So this is the address of that. Now, if you notice, where it is highlighted is where the qualified census tracts are. So for this address in particular, it is not in a qualified census tract. So what we are going to do is we are going to go back to our application and we're going to say no. And then as you notice at the bottom, the income verification is going to pop up. Now, let me show you what would happen, what we would need to do if it was a yes. If it was a yes, all you're going to do is come here. You're going to print out this as a PDF. So you'll print this page, save it as a PDF, and then going back. So let's cancel because we don't want to save it as a PDF. So I'm just going to cancel it. Then we're going to go back to the grant application. Let's now maximize that again. And then say it was a yes. We're going to hit yes. And then that printout that you just printed, you're going to upload it right here. And then you'll continue to go on. But for this purpose, we are going to say that they do not live in a qualified census tract. So here is now the next thing we have to do. We have to do income verification. So it's going to ask, if the client does not live in a qualified census tract, they must fall within the 300% poverty level, be on unemployment or Medicaid. The 300% thresholds are listed here. So you can click this if you need a copy of the 300% thresholds. Once again, it was very important to us that we gave you all the information that you were needing as you were going through this. So those are the thresholds. So if on unemployment or Medicaid, you can annualize it. So we're going to say this person, we make, as a household, we have a household of 4 and we make $40,000 a year, which is not much. So what you're going to have to do then is if you go to the bottom, so you put the amount that they made, and it's going to say, please use the information submission link to submit supporting documents for income verification. If the client does not have supporting documents, they may use the self-declaration form below. So it's the same thing as the last thing that we just did. You can use the information submission link, but remember, like I said before, not to close your link yet. Because if you have to do income verification, you're just going to click here and then you'll submit it. You'll upload the file here by clicking browse, and you can choose the file. And then you are done with that submission link. So that's the reason why we say, don't submit this until you're at the end of entering the person's information. So we did 400,000. This person did have all the information that they needed in order to show that show their income. So we do not need the the income verification self-declaration form, but I will show you what it looks like. This is what this one looks like. So this is the income self-declaration form, but we'll get off that. But we're assuming this person was able to turn in their W-2s or their 1099s to show how much money they make. Now, if they are on unemployment or Medicaid, if they have a determination letter, you can just turn in that determination letter. And also remember, if they're using a unique identifier, you are allowed to eradicate or in it, basically, you know that word, for Xing out personal information. So you can take out their social with a Sharpie and just turn in the number section of that. So it is okay to omit information on those forms when you turn them into us. So at this point we have, now we're going to turn this in. We're done with this, 1,000. We're going to submit it. I'm not going to submit it for these purposes, but we know our reference number is 1,000 and we're ready to go. So you're going to go to the next tab. Submission. Did you submit all information required using the information submission link? You should have submitted a Covet Impact statement and income verification. If the client lives on a qualified census tract, you've only submitted COVID-19 impact supporting data, but uploaded the qualified census tract information in the previous section, as you know, as we've been going through this. So we're going to say, yes, we have. We are good. We've submitted everything that we're supposed to do. Then it's going to ask, what is the self-assigned reference number you use for your submission? Now, remember, this is a reference number. So you have to, and very important, to make sure that that reference number matches the number that you assigned. And then we're good to go. So then we're going to go to the next tab, which is childcare. Now, this is where we're finally able to enter the value of what we've provided the client. So it says, please enter the dollar amount of childcare assistance your organization provided to the client. So for this one expenditure, maybe the monthly care is $1,000 a month. So this is the first month of them receiving help. So we're going to say $1,000 and say, please provide the supporting invoices, canceled checks, or documentation or services provided by your organization related to these costs. So this is where, if I'm a child care place, I can enter my invoice. This is the invoice, and I wrote off the $1,000 to the ARPA grant. So you'll just upload that file here. Or if you're not the child care provider, say we are paying for child care for someone, then we'll just enter the invoice that they received and a copy of the proof of payment that we made to that vendor. At the end of that, we are going to be able to submit this application. I'm not going to submit it, this individual expenditure. I'm sorry, we're going to submit this, and then you are done. Now, the next question I know you're going to have is, well, and this is what is going to come up with many people, what if, and we're going to, so basically we have submitted that. So let's start over again. We're going to go to preview. And don't worry about the preview thing or what I have to click up here. You will not have those options. This is where you're going to start every time. So we have entered our information for Chad Smith. Now, say Chad Smith is someone who is reoccurring. Chad Smith is not going to leave the daycare next month, and we're still going to pay for the month after that. What you're going to do is you're going to re-enter the next month whenever he has another month of $1,000 of expenses. We're going to put in our information, Reggie Childcare. Reggie Thomas is submitting it. You're going to call this Chad Smith again, but now the new date. So say this is a month in the future. So we're going to say June 10th. We're going to hit childcare. Then this is where it is going to change completely, which is going to be a lot quicker. This is the important question. The key question, is this a new client that has not previously received services? At this point, no, they are not new. This is somebody, Chad Smith, who we paid for and already submitted the first time household info for. So we're going to hit no. Then it's going to have a reoccurring client question. Household name, please enter the name of the person receiving assistance or the unique identifier representing the person previously. So remember, the name of the person was Chad Smith. And then the great thing about this is, and of course we have like an italicized print, so you know, only enter information here of your previously submitted household information. Sorry about that. And then we got to go to childcare. Then it's another $1,000 that we're paying them. We're going to upload that supporting data, and then we're going to send this off. So no, the first time you are entering information for someone who's reoccurring, that's going to be the part that's longer. But the great thing is as you get into the swing of entering first time, it really won't take you as long to do it. Maybe the first time might go slower, but you'll find it gets faster and faster. But for reoccurring people, it's that easy. So this is basically if you're providing direct services to somebody in terms of, you know, and we'll go back to the beginning of the form. So I'm going to basically refresh it. This is basically if you're providing things like utility assistance, childcare, employment, if you're providing stuff to people one-on-one. So the next thing we're going to get into is because there's different areas of what people can do, but that is the main meat behind if you're providing services to a client one-on-one, if you're doing utility assistance, childcare, if it's employment support, one-on-one, emergency shelters. Now, one thing that I do want to show you, and of course, this video, we're talking to everybody. So certain parts might only benefit what your organization is doing. So just know that some of the things I'm going to say might not have anything to do with your organization's project. So let's go. Now, a lot of people are doing mental health services. So if you hit mental health and behavior,